To see my full China car breakdown for all of 2026, there will be a separate video on the channel analyzing BYD in comparison to Zeekr, XPeng, Li Auto, Leapmotor, NIO, Xiaomi, and Lynk & Co. So have a look at that one. But for BYD, well, things are, I wouldn't say unraveling, but bit of a shock sales number here from BYD. Plug-in hybrid sales are falling. In fact, they're really falling. They're down by nearly 40% this month. That's a big fall. EV sales, on the other hand, are actually continuing to grow, but not by heaps. This is a big challenge that BYD are now facing. I've heard that a lot of dealers have a lot of stock, a lot of cars they need to clear. BYD obviously is, I feel like maybe confusing customers. I feel like maybe you walk into a BYD showroom and there's like literally 60 different models and it's so hard to choose. It's like, do you ever remember going to a restaurant and there's so many good options that you feel baffled? You think, analysis paralysis, what am I going to order? I've had that happen. I think this could be happening potentially. Anyhow, let's have a look at BYD sales in the month of July and compare them to last year, and also look at the trend here for BYD, which is, it's interesting. I think it kind of confirms what I'm trying to tell people now. Be very wary about buying a plug-in hybrid because the trends show people are moving away from them. They're moving to electric cars. They're moving to EREVs. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us, and thank you for tuning in. Now, if you've bought a BYD car, you're a BYD fan, I'm not attacking you. BYD make great cars, and you've got a good car. It's not a bad car. I'm saying really that the future trends in the automotive industry, we're going to see a bit of a move away from plug-in hybrids. We're seeing companies primarily focus on plug-in hybrids. We're seeing their sales actually drop. Whereas companies that focus on EVs first and EREVs second, their sales are continuing to go up significantly over the last few months. It's a very clear trend. And that's represented in the sales numbers overall in the overall Chinese car market as well. BYD does not yet use its new high energy density batteries, which we've been hearing about now for many months. There's meant to be 2 versions of them, 2 new Blade batteries. One of those Blade batteries, it's a bit better than the previous generation, 175 watt hours per kilogram energy density, still a bit below some of their competitors. That battery is in the Tan L and the Han L, 2 new models. But those models are not big sellers across BYD's hundreds of thousands of car sales per month. That's only a very small percentage of their sales. So maybe customers are waiting for these new batteries to hit the market. I'm not sure. But the other high energy density BYD Blade battery version 2, there's a lot of interest in that. That hasn't yet gone into cars at all. None of them have it yet. It's meant to have 185 to 190 watt hours per kilogram of energy density, meaning range would improve by probably about 15 to 20% versus previous generation cars. Getting to the actual sales numbers though. BYD sold 344,300 vehicles in July, which was almost exactly the same amount of cars they sold in July of 2024, but down 10% from June, which June was an okay month, but not a great month. BYD, apparently, their plug-in hybrid sales are dropping pretty fast. Their EV sales are not. Now, looking at this graph from CNF Post, you can see here the trend. And I think it's fair to say, looking at March, April, May, June, the sales weren't insane, but they're pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Growing slowly, which is good for a company of this size. But all of a sudden, July, after some controversies and some media stuff going on, and to be honest, BYD saying they're going to target a bunch of YouTubers and bloggers, and ones they've got a list of 200 they're going after. That's the kind of thing I think is kind of dangerous, very dangerous, because that means you can't handle criticism. That means that you're so brittle that you want to shut someone down and silence them because they might be critiquing you. And I don't think the media is going to respond well to that. I think Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Toyota, Volkswagen, these car companies, they are used to this. They've been dealing with this kind of thing from the automotive industry for decades, and they're used to this. They don't respond, they don't react. But there's some very strong sensitivity at BYD, and I think this is something to be wary of if you're an investor. BYD's commercial vehicles were up 106% year on year, but down 34% from June. But either way, BYD's commercial vehicle sales have actually been a really good bright spot for them this year, doing really well. But they only make up a very small percent of their sales. In fact, they only make up 1% of BYD's actual vehicle sales. Passenger NEVs in July. So how did July go? Well, BYD sold 177,887 EVs in July. So that was about 37% more electric cars sold in July than what they sold in July of last year. 37% growth on EV sales versus last year. That's pretty good. It is down 14% on June though. Down 14% on June. However, like I said, still 37% growth versus last year. But this is the first sequential decline in BYD's EV sales since February. And it's always a decline every year. You'd never do well in February. It doesn't matter which car company. No one ever does. Actually, I shouldn't say that. XPeng did. BYD sold, though, 163,000 plug-in hybrids in July, meaning it's now outselling its plug-in hybrids with EVs, which is a big change. That means plug-in hybrid sales at BYD have fallen by 23% versus the same month last year, and they have fallen 4.5% from June. But that 23%, I don't think that's truly indicative of the real issue here, because BYD now have 10 more plug-in hybrid models available on the market, and their plug-in hybrid vehicles are on average 30% cheaper. 20 to 33% cheaper than last year. If the cars are that much cheaper, which is massive, that's enormous, right? If they're that much cheaper and sales are down 23% and they have 10 new models and they're updating them pretty quickly, then there's clearly a demand problem for plug-in hybrids. I think that's the case. Now, I could be wrong. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you own one, this doesn't mean I'm attacking your car. In fact, it doesn't mean your car is any different to what it was yesterday. But this is a clear indicator for where the market is moving in China. It's moving away slowly from plug-in hybrids. Their sales are starting to slowly kind of not grow, whereas EV sales are growing and EREV sales are definitely growing. And one of the key differences here is normally plug-in hybrids on average is about 100 kilometers of range, but some of these EREVs now have between 200 to 450 kilometers of range. It's a big difference. So you can see here some structural issues with plug-in hybrid sales, whereas EV sales are still doing pretty well, I think it's fair to say. But demand for BYD's cars has gone down. And I'm curious to know, is something going on here? I mean, looking at these vehicle sales, look at this chart, guys. You can see here, BYD's rise has been meteoric. It's been incredible until this month. And you can't blame it on seasonal. This has nothing to do with January, February, the seasonal effect. This is all of a sudden. And it's coming amidst big discounts. These numbers should not be going down. If anything, they should be flat. Because if you're discounting your cars with these huge discounts have been going on in China from BYD, we know that's been happening. That is a fact. Why are your sales going down when you're discounting your cars? Think about it, guys. If Tesla was doing this, if Tesla was discounting their cars by these massive amounts, which they never have before, they have discounted their cars gradually, slowly discount them down. They've done that. But if Tesla dropped their prices by massive percentages in a single month and then their sales went down, right, in that same month, you'd be saying to yourself, what's going on?